From a career standpoint, software engineering is an abstraction of how it's possible to progress through a career. It can often feel pretty self referential. Other careers have grounding in other dimensions of reality. Because software engineering is more mature now, it has more grounds for reference than it used to. Early on, it was grounded in hardware specifically with electricity. Cheers. I've made more than 10,000 TikToks, and I have an art style that people appreciate. So when I sell zines, oh, also I've been a web developer. That's an important part of it. When I sell zines, I can point to the reasons why the experience might be interesting. Of course, I do want to be mindful, describe the dimensions. Oh, I want to be, oop, I want to be mindful and describe the dimensions of literacy that I intend to go into the media that I sell. But I can produce media and I can point to your products. Cheers. Splashy, you need to market your show. I'm a web developer. That'll do. Quick, what do you bring to the table? I'm a web developer. That's boring. Everyone can develop websites. But do they? What do you mean? Do people develop websites? Or do they get websites and update them sometimes? I haven't updated my website in years. Continue. What if your web presence what if your web presence was more than one site? What if websites were one medium? What if you explored your brand development like it's an ecology? You're hired. For what? What is it you say you do? Mixed up the tenses there. I didn't say anything yet. Right, what is it you said you do? Web development. I need brand development. Tell me what you're working with. I run a bakery. We sell cakes for birthdays. Everyone loves them. 40 cakes a day. But they're boring. Nobody's buying them. Do you want a website? No. Do you want brand cards? Yup. Do you have a website? Yup. Can you update your website? Don't know how. We can put brand cards on a website. Perfect. Now it's a bit clearer with some of the new technologies that have stabilized that the hard part with a lot of optimizations is that getting to the first step is difficult, and once you're there, optimizing the second step might result in a lot of yield, but won't be understood as beneficial until people have navigated the first step. With AI, it might be that there are a lot of optimizations that are describable to people who have navigated some dimension of learning into, for example, agriculture. But those optimizations, those savings or yield developments, yield bonuses, I'm not sure the terminology. See, I don't know. I'm not sure what people who have agricultural needs would most benefit from. But I do know there are new ways to describe optimizations, and I've explored some of those with my art. So when I go live on TikTok, I am interested in having conversations with people who grow corn and soybeans and other similar crops. I'm curious what we can localize and what's relevant for most people. Cheers. We know when we try hard and receive praise for the effort, that helps us feel better, boosts our morale, and sometimes that can be helpful. Is this always the case? I don't know. I'm sure it depends on the feedback, on the types of effort, and the timing of everything. How do we interpret praise that can't be meaningfully associated with understanding of whatever we've strived for? I update my physical art, but for the most part, I can associate the physical art with a message on a one to one moment to idea basis. And that isn't necessarily the case because I can represent a lot of concepts with physical art, though I can represent more concepts with digital art, especially with my website, and especially because I've studied this for years. Pardon. I've been a software engineer for more than a decade. More than a dozen years I've spent software engineering, doing applied, pardon, applying the principles of engineering to software. It's also possible to describe the flow of attention like electricity, and that can be relevant with physical art and websites. Cheers. Something that will be bogus, but I'm not sure what to say, is that if you come up with your own ideas and people ask you where your ideas come from, you won't really be able to say where they came from. But if you generate your ideas, you can point to the generator. This is relevant if you want a project to, well, like, how much scrutiny do you want to flow to your project, you know? You can also improvise in contexts where that improvisation would be understood as being timely. Though, what does that mean, and how do you relate to that pace? Cheers. Get to know your audience and post content that answers their questions. Also, be able to guess their questions before they have them. There isn't going to be a way to shortcut that. Cheers.